Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. My name is McCarthy. I'm the Director of Sustainability for Levy Restaurants. If you're not familiar with Levy, we are the disruptor in sports and entertainment hospitality. We operate venues from award-winning restaurants, iconic sports venues, convention centers, museums, zoos, you name it. We do the food and beverage service there. 8 months ago, I joined Levy after about 12 years in the nonprofit and mission-driven sector because I was so excited about the potential of the venues that we operate to catalyze a broader movement around food sustainability. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to hear from industry experts about how we can deliver the best sustainability experiences so that when people leave our venues, they're inspired to take those activities around sustainability into their daily lives. So please join me in welcoming our 4 panelists: Alan Steele, the CEO of the New York Convention Center Operating Corporation; Kayalin Akens-Irby, the head of growth for Planet Forward; Alison, our Chief Creative Officer at Levy Restaurants; and last but not least, we're going to have Chris Wallace, the Chief Communications Officer for the LA Clippers, Intuit Dome, and Kia Forum, joining us virtually from Los Angeles. All right, so we're just going to dive right in. Alan, starting with you, how do we create experiences that leave people inspired to cultivate and support sustainability practices after they walk out of the door?
Well, I think we start when they walk in the door. But as any of you who've walked through this space will see, we've spent a lot of time not just talking the talk, but trying to walk the walk. And there are many things that we've been able to do thanks to sustainable support from the state government, which demonstrate how you can make a sustainable convention center really work. We have the green roof on the existing building, which is the second largest green roof in the country, or at least was, I think, until recently. We have the largest solar panel installation in New York City. We have just introduced wind turbines. We're doing a test pilot on wind turbines to see how much we can generate from wind turbines. We have a huge sustainability program with Levy, with our partner Cultivated. We look for every opportunity to make the building more sustainable and more of an appeal to the events industry, because the events industry is very conscious of the fact that it is primarily a waste generator through both travel and through the activity of conventions. So we spend time trying to reduce that impact, trying to show that by having this kind of conference, by having this kind of meeting in a sustainable venue, we can actually accelerate the process of change in the sustainable practices of the industry.
That's wonderful. And one of the things that I love that Javits does so well is bring sustainability to people, right? It's not a solar farm far off out in rural areas. It's here. It's in New York City. It's accessible. The same with the farm, right? It's so difficult to reconnect with what goes into producing our food, but they're able to do that just here on the west side of Manhattan. Yeah. So, Chris, if I can, for you, the NBA last year reached 1.5 billion people across 215 countries and territories. So the reach and cultural significance of the NBA is incredible. And I know sustainability has been a top priority for the Clippers. So as you look to head into your new chapter at the Intuit Dome next fall, you all have been thinking about sustainability from the start. So how do you and your team imagine fans experiencing sustainability at the Intuit Dome next year?
Yeah, Mary, we had the unique opportunity to build something from the ground up. We weren't trying to retrofit a sustainability strategy into an older building. Intuit Dome, which is going to open in August of 24, is the vision of Steve Ballmer, and a huge part of his vision is sustainability. So for us, from the start, it has been a priority. And we're creating a new type of fan experience at Intuit Dome that replicates, if you've ever seen Steve cheering from courtside, ripping his shirt, cheering in the playoffs. That is what our arena is going to encourage people to do. And we were able to integrate sustainability into that experience, the unique experience, the very active fan experience. And for us, being able to bring to life some of the things that we're working with Levy on, whether it's some of the virtual farms that we're talking about, or different experiential things built into a dome, I think is going to be something that will allow us and our fans to take something home and learn a little bit more.
That's great, Chris, and I love how much you're emphasizing that fan experience at the Intuit Dome and really prioritizing that for the Clipper fan base. And Alison, that's something that you have worked on your whole career at Levy, is really how do we deliver these incredible guest experiences? So how do you think about sustainability sitting alongside those best-in-class experiences?
Yeah, food and beverage by nature is experiential, hopefully for everybody. It's hopefully not the thing you check off your list. Breaking bread, being together is an emotional experience. So it's experiential that we're leaning into as we think about sustainability and where it's going. And quite honestly, I think we were thinking about it a little functionally. We were saying, okay, how do we just design menus? And how do we think about packaging? And then how does the story come together? And then how are we dealing with the waste elimination? And we've really started to take our own advice, which is we're in an experiential business, and how do we integrate these things together? So it's not our chefs making a decision and our packaging folks making a decision. We're all sitting down at the table together from the very beginning and saying, how do we take the power of food and beverage as an innate experience, and sustainability just is wrapped into that. So it's about connecting all of those dots intentionally from the very beginning, and kind of like taking our own advice, which is think of it experientially. And we're really focused on, as Chris said, then taking the venues and the places that we are and knowing that people come in for an experience. And so then making it easy for them to experience that sustainability experience along the way.
Wonderful. And Kayalin, we're talking quite high level about sustainability experiences and this kind of visionary perspective, but we know that will be hollow if it's not really rooted in impact. And so I know that's something Planet Forward thinks a lot about, is how do we kind of make this incredible experience, this connection between a guest and sustainability, but make sure it's really rooted in impact. So how do you all think about doing that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think first of all, to your point, it's absolutely, the fact about food service is that it is an experience when it comes to sports and entertainment. People also identify heavily with the experience, with the teams that they're going to support, with the venue that they're going to go, spend time in. And they also get to spend time, reading through menus and engaging with the story. And so it also gives us an opportunity to educate. And so some of the things that we've done that are now, scalable across Levy's and Javits Center and all these other places. If you walk into any Just Salad restaurant across New York City today, it's one of our customers that we've worked with, you can now see all of the earth-friendly menu items called out. Every single menu item is carbon labeled, and if you, work through their digital menu ordering platform, you can filter for climatarian options. All of a sudden, we're taking something that's a sustainability concept and turning it into something that people can truly attach to their own identity, which is why we're so excited to expand our partnership with Compass and Levy's and, all the companies that you guys support in doing this exact type of work. And to your point around how do we make sure that it's, rooted in true impact, the stories we tell have to be reflective of the actual work that we're doing. They cannot exist separately. And we help our customers do carbon accounting to understand the full range of where their emissions are coming from. Is it that we need to put a green roof in place because it's our energy usage within our facility that's one of the largest drivers? Is it the fact that 90% of our emissions are coming from our scope 3 and the ingredients and the packaging and the things that we're actually selling within our venues? And then once you understand where your emissions are coming from, what you can do to reduce them, can track the progress that you're making on that, the next step is to get it in front of your customers, get it in front of the people that are engaging so that it can actually drive behavior change and make impact.
Yeah, I think that's such a wonderful point. And we have a credibility challenge as corporations working on sustainability to really make sure that whatever we're talking about on sustainability is tied to that impact. And so Levy's parent company, Compass Group, has been working with Planet Forward and just yesterday announced that we've been able to get to about a 30% reduction in scope 3, 16% on scope 1 and 2 since our 2019 baseline. So that's great progress, and we're so grateful for the help of Planet Forward on that, but we know there's so much more work to do. And so, Alan, I'm curious, as you've gone such a long way in your journey on sustainability at the Javits Center, when you think about that kind of future vision and that path forward for you, what are the big challenges that you anticipate?
Well, I think at Javits, we've faced a lot of those challenges already to a degree. I think what we've learned is that true sustainability is a marketable commodity and can actually be used to not only educate, but to attract. And we are finding that getting over the barrier of resistance is lessening, that we're seeing more and more of our customers want to have a sustainable experience. And by coming to Javits, because we have so many elements of sustainability built into what we do, then an event that really may just be starting on their journey can attach themselves to what we do and can help project that image to their customers as well. So I think we're a bit of a missionary. And I think that whereas it used to be that we were standing on the street corner talking to ourselves, we now have an audience. And that audience is willing to learn, not necessarily to do what we do, because not everyone has the luxuries that we have in terms of a building, but to look at what we've been able to do and say, as many people do, I never thought of the Javits Center in that context. So what we hope people leave from here with is to have climbed that barrier of we can't do anything, and to say we can do something. So I think the barriers are breaking down. It's not that there aren't still barriers to climb, but I think we're beginning to see an awareness that really helps the message that we're trying to create.
Yeah, really kind of outlining that art of the possible, right? You all have done it here at the Javits Center, so now that kind of excuse or that barrier that it can't be done is removed, and now we can move on. Yeah. That's wonderful. So, Chris, back to you in terms of the journey that you all are going on as part of the Intuit Dome building and the future vision of sustainability for the Clippers. You all have set forth some really ambitious goals. So I know you're early in your journey of delivering on those, but how has that journey been for you in terms of some of the challenges that you've seen come up and how you all are tackling those?
Yeah, we've come across a few challenges. The first was how we talk about things. When we started really digging into our sustainability strategy over 2 years ago, the advice that we were getting and that Steve loved was that we were going to be the biggest, the best, the first, all of these obnoxious superlatives that would have not helped and ultimately helped us reach our goal. So one challenge is taking a step back and really understanding what we're trying to do, ultimately what we are going to be able to say. And second is that everyone wants to help, but they don't know what to do. So that was a big shift in our process, is moving from superlatives to education. With our staff, with our players, with our coaches, and soon with our fans. We had a meeting with our head coach, Tyronn Lue, because Steve, in the process of building Intuit Dome, when we were going through our actual drawings, noticed that there were copier rooms in our blueprint. And he said, well, what the hell do we have these in here for? We're not having paper. And everyone looked at him and was like, well, what do you mean, Steve? We need photocopies. Like, no, we don't. So 2.5 years ago, those were removed from the blueprints. And now that we don't have copy rooms in our building, and if anybody has watched or gone to an NBA or college basketball game, there's something that happens every single timeout with every single team and every single coach. And they look at a stat sheet of paper. So last week, we had our first meeting with our coaching staff on how we are not going to be handing them a piece of paper. And that was the start of our journey of our paperless environment. But it goes all the way through. So now we are trying to come up with creative ways for our coaches to be able to receive the information they need, which Steve wants, but he doesn't want them to do it with a piece of paper in front of them.
I love how sustainability is just permeating everything, right? From the NBA floor all the way to kind of every element of construction that you all are thinking about at the Intuit Dome. And I think also finding that right balance between big ambition and recognizing that there are going to be steps to get there. It's great to hear that journey that you all have gone on. And so, Alison, when we're thinking about our sustainability impact at Levy, we talk about a lot of the things that have already been mentioned this morning over the course of the different panels that we've heard: sustainable sourcing and regenerative agriculture, food waste reduction in general. But one that I want to talk about specifically, because I think we're quite uniquely placed to act on it, is menu design. So tell me a little bit more about how we think about menu design at our venues and really thinking about maintaining that sustainable menu design without losing out on the guest experience when folks are going to a prominent sports or entertainment venue.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit like Chris's stat sheet. So Chris's stat sheet in our world are the top 5 menu items that probably everybody in this room could guess, right? There's a hot dog, there's popcorn, there's pretzel, there's beer, there's water. And so a lot of those items are traditions that you have maybe gone to a game with a family member, a friend, and it's about going to that ballpark or that stadium and having that item. That's a big part of what we're looking at through menu design, and it isn't about taking those away or ruining those traditions that, my goodness, if someone said you can never have a hot dog at a game again. It's not about taking it away. So a little different than the stat sheet. It's not about totally taking it away, but it's about finding balance in that menu. It's about finding new traditions that can come into that menu that allow us to be more responsible in how we are bringing sustainability into our venues. And then using all the tools that are disposable, a big new Halo board, an amazing app, a way to encourage people to discover what these new options are that don't take away from a guest experience, but create new traditions and allow us to celebrate food and beverage in a much more kind of balanced way. So lots of journey as to what that might be. Hot dogs are not going away, but new alternatives to how we bring that forward to allow these experiences to be everything they can be is a really big part of what we're focused on as an organization.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And as I mentioned kind of in the setup, Levy views itself as a disruptor in the industry. And one of the things that I think is so wonderful about the way that we get to operate is we create very kind of context-specific food and beverage programs, depending on the setting, depending on the city. So our ability to kind of experiment with sustainable menu design, we can go on a journey, right? We can figure that out in different cities, whether it's New York City or Los Angeles or others that might be a little bit more open and receptive to that so that we can really figure it out for when we get to other parts of the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Kayalin, I know you all help companies a lot with kind of managing this balance between impact and telling inspiring stories. Where do you see companies running into the most challenges when they try to go about doing that?
Yeah. I think the first challenge is actually unrooting ourselves from our own biases as to what we think sustainability is and to what we think the biggest drivers are. Oftentimes when we come into working with any company, they're like, yeah, we got to tackle our packaging, or we're going to focus on, local sourcing, whatever it be, because we have concepts as to what we think sustainability is. But when we think about actually achieving climate goals, actually making the direct reductions that we need, against global goals, we have to be focused on the places that it's most impactful first and making the largest change. So I think the first challenge is actually unrooting ourselves from our biases as to what we think we need to do and starting to look towards the data as to what will actually change outcomes. And that's where the technology industry and companies like Planet Forward come into play to make that possible. And then the second big challenge is the messaging around how do we actually get this in front of people in a way that is engaging, isn't making them fearful, doesn't make them feel shame. We want it to educate, but we also want it to attract, and it does have that potential. Today, we're seeing that products, brands, companies that are able to make effective ESG claims are actually growing 8% faster than their conventional counterparts. So that business upside is on the table if you can get it right. And it takes a little bit of experimentation. It takes a little bit of making sure that you're developing your messaging and your menus and your programs and your activations to the communities that you are specifically trying to engage with. So that's definitely the second challenge, but if you have a true story of impact, if you have a true story of improvement, that's half the battle, and then it's just a matter of getting it in front of people in a way that makes sense to them.
Yeah, I think that theme of the need for education and awareness is definitely coming across, and I think particularly in the food and beverage sector that's even more the case. In my experience, we're a little bit behind the energy or transportation sector on the sustainability front, so helping people understand what's really going to drive impact is huge.
And people want to talk about food and beverage, right? When you look
Yeah.
about what's posted on social media, one of the top 10 pieces of content is food and beverage, right? And if that food and beverage content then had a bit of that sustainability message and or a personal story where it became an experience versus a check the box activity, that's kind of like nirvana when we think about this being an experiential element.
Yeah,
And I think from the Javits perspective, we have a unique opportunity because we can actually personalize it for an event planner. They come in here, they can meet with the chef, and they can meet with the farmers, and they can talk about what they want and what color they want it and how big it should be. And it can be planted as long as we have enough time in the planting cycle to come out the size, shape, and color that you want it to be. So that allows a planner to participate in the menu selection in a way that makes it unique for them and then unique for their audiences.
And I feel like so much of food and agriculture sustainability is helping people reconnect with what goes into producing the food and how it gets on the plate. And that's the power of that customization that you just talked about, Alan, but it's also the power of being able to just walk out on the farm and see what these different vegetables and different food items look like when they're coming out of the soil. So that's so powerful. So I guess just to kind of start to head towards the end of our conversation, as I said at the beginning, I do think there's this element of untapped potential still in a lot of the venues that we operate across these different kind of elements of culture, whether it's sports and entertainment. We do the Grammys. We have the opportunity to do the Kentucky Derby. So there's just this wide variety of opportunities for education and for change and for impact. And so Alan, I'll start with you again. When you think about sort of what the solutions are, maybe it's folks in this room, people representing companies, NGOs, governments, what are the solutions that you would love to see to help you on your sustainability journey?
Well, I think you said it perfectly. The solutions aren't here, the solutions are there. The value for me of this kind of conference and this kind of exposure is that I guarantee you there are people in this audience who will say, I have something that you should be thinking about. And I'm more than willing to meet with anyone to talk about anything. If it's affordable and legal, we'll do it. What we will not do, at least in the short term, is convert the farm into a marijuana farm. That's been suggested by several people, but it's been shot down on a number of levels. But we're open to pretty much anything. We're very fortunate. Again, we're a state entity, but we think of ourselves as an experimental opportunity. The reason we have a wind turbine on the farm and we're experimenting with that is not because we thought we should have wind turbines, but we've had someone approach us and say, I have a wind turbine that will not kill birds because that's a bird-friendly wind turbine. Those things, that interaction is not something that would necessarily come to us. So I invite everyone, see the farm, see me, and we'll come up with some new ideas for next year.
That's awesome. Wonderful. So Chris, same question to you. To kind of embed the sports pun, what's your first round draft pick for sustainability? What's the player that you need at the table to get you to your sustainability goals?
Yeah, you actually said it before, Mary. It's actually the NBA. To have a governing body like the NBA support, provide some leadership, some guidance, and our 29 other teams. We're working with the NBA now. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we have proposed and just take a quick step back, there's nothing that pro team sports like to do more than obviously compete on their playing surface, but to compete with each other. So we are working with the NBA to come up with a sustainability challenge that will be public facing, that will engage all 30 teams' fan bases and ultimately encourage some better sustainability practices. So I'm excited for us to be able to talk about that again, but I can't get too far ahead of ourselves yet.
That's so exciting. We were just talking about how important collaboration is to sustainability, but I love working in the sports and entertainment sector when we can tap into that competitive drive. I think it's going to take us far very fast.
Yeah.
So Kayalin, over to you. What would be your ask to the audience?
Yeah. To everyone here and just in general, I mean, I think first and foremost, we just need to accelerate progress. Just as fast as you're going, if you can go faster, try. That's just my number one, call to action to everyone always. And then actually, as we were talking backstage and some of the conversations I've had at Climate Week thus far, I also really believe deeply, I'm fearful a bit of climate work, sustainability work, falling into a compliance bucket, falling into a side priority bucket of, okay, we got a report out, call it a day. I used to do ESG investment in private equity, and I was really sad when I kind of saw that happen. And so why I love this panel, why I love the idea of sports and entertainment and culture is like, okay, can you just take it a little bit further? If you're doing the sustainability work, if you're making all of these improvements, if you're doing all the things you're doing, could you take it just a little bit further and share it with people and get it in front of people and make it something that can impact the bottom line of your business? Because then all of a sudden it's something that people want to do because they know that they should for their business. So that's my second one. It's like, take it a little further if you can.
I love that. I sometimes think that sustainability has a little bit of like a fun or a joy problem. Like we can get so easily bogged down in jargon, in data, in reporting, but can we make sustainability joyful? Can we make it pleasurable and fun? So Alison, what's your call to action from the audience?
That is exactly it, right? Like food and beverage is joyful. And just for a second, put that compliant, check the box hat over here, and when you all go to an event or a gathering as a fan or an attendee, just put the kind of emotional, more heart, personal side on and say, everything I know about sustainability, pretend you don't. Be that every person and say, what is it that will make it more joyful and bring it forward in a different way? Because you have ears that are listening. As Chris said, you've got the NBA, you have a large company like Levy, you have the Javits Center, and we are listening to hear what it is that's going to continue to make that momentum forward so that sustainability is that sellout crowd where everybody takes it forward with them. So I think that's the ask of everybody in this room and everybody that you partner with.
Yeah. Can I just say one more thing?
Of course.
I also think we have a period of time right now where there's still a lot of opportunity for leadership. We are so behind on climate goals, but you just saw the streets of New York full of people wanting people to go faster and move faster, and regulations starting to catch up. So very soon this will be obligatory. Very soon it'll be required. You can't say we did this because it mattered to us. You're now saying you did this because you had to. Totally. And so I think there's a narrow window to be a true leader, and I think people, if you can step into that, it's important.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much to our panelists for your time. Just in closing, I will say Levy, through our hospitality team here at Cultivated, has tried to bring sustainability into your food and beverage experience over the course of the week here at Javits Center. So my invitation to you all is, as what we've heard from the panel, give us feedback. Tell us what more we can be doing. We work really hard on sustainability, but we know it's never enough. So I'm going to be around for the rest of the week. Come up, tell me what else we should be doing. And if you don't happen to catch me, there are QR codes that our team have put throughout our food and beverage stations. You can click on those QR codes, you'll get more of our food and beverage story, and then there will also be a little place for you to drop comments in there to share whatever sustainability solutions you have, as Alan said, that we don't know about. We want to bring them to these events and venue spaces. So thank you so much to the panel. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mary.